mask, T-piece, filter, and title, BVM. I knew that in my head time and time again.
Yeah.
But when I was physically assembling it, it was, no, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here. And when you watch the video, you can see it. And then I pulled out the licorice stick to, when we repositioned, again, I think it was really good that I recognised that, as opposed to, I just keep going, what have you got? I need to change this. But again, I found myself pulling it apart and putting it back together. And at the time, it was like getting my hands crossed over like I was dancing. And, you know, as a result,
On the video, how long did it take you to correct that?
probably almost a minute.
Yeah, for me, I didn't see. I could see that you were changing things and moving things around, but it didn't adjust the overall run of the case. I think
It
there's some procedural stuff.
Should look like you troubleshooted well. Like I thought you fixed it. Same with the magnesium thing. Like you.
I think what I would like to see a troubleshoot is, are we ventilating the lady at the right rate? And if we are we actually ventilating her correctly? And does my positioning and my BVM actually do this?
But we're getting you assist in that range. But I think you just hit assist in that range because the overall flow of things, once you were doing your procedural skills, they're okay. You needed some prompts. And some of those prompts are caught up in, I suppose, the busyness of that case, like the drawing up of the salbutamol with sharp. I heard you verbalise, I want this drawn up in 3 mil. However, it's my watching the sim to go, he's about to draw that with the sharp, needs some clarification there.
You've given it massive VIV salbutamol,
but
it's never drawn up.
But for mine there, like there was some procedural skills that were at standard, but just at standard within that setting. Some of the other stuff is your management planning or the implementation, which is more about that, I want you to ventilate at 15. The ventilation was fine. It's just done at 15, which is going to create barotrauma and potential compromising the patient. Evaluation, reassessment of patient,
But again, it
modification.
comes back to that ventilation rate for me. I mark that assisted, dependent to assisted, just because, again, I needed prompting in doing that. And it was probed, like it was prompted, but then I didn't do the full reassessment and then think about it. And then it was, I would suspect it was about the third time it was prompted,
Yes.
that I suddenly went, hang on, I just put 1 and 2 together, you know. She might have already been hyperinflated. I didn't do the respiratory status assessment early on to pick that up. So I don't know if I've exacerbated that, but at 15, no, that's way too far. We need to emphasise the prolonged respiratory phase. I wanted it at 6 to 8. So, you know, as a result, you know, evaluation and reassessment, I think, covers down in that dependent range.
Agree with you, for those reasons that you stated. Communication?
I've marked communication and leadership team management as assisted, but as I said before, I'd have to speak to Tristan and Nat, but I felt out of character and I felt almost too direct with them. You know, watching the video, there was too much of a, it wasn't enough of, right, I want you to do this please, it was do this, do that, do this, and I was like an air traffic controller directing with my hands, and I don't want to be the barking orders type Nazi one that walks in the door. Yeah, there's going to be times in cases where it needs to be done if the wheels are falling off the bus, but I didn't mark myself up on that because I wasn't particularly reflectively happy with how that was.
So we discussed and looked at assisted for you in that area, and I think that's because once you become flustered, and you know, you would have seen it in the video, you said, I think your analogy was the wheels fell off. Once the wheels started to fall off, then some of the communication became just a little bit
shortened up.
Short. And with that, that's okay.
It was short. I'm talking too much.
But sometimes your cases need that. Like if you've got a patient who's going to cardiac arrest in the next 30 seconds and requires intervention of some sort to prevent that, you need to just achieve that. But then there's some ambiguity about what you're doing. So like the tasking of the drawing up of the salbutamol, like for me, that's if you're giving it to someone who's unfamiliar with that drug, then it just needs a little bit of oversight to come in there and go, hey, this is how I want you to draw it up, and just to check on it. So that would be the finer points to push you up into the independent range, but I agree you're in the assisted range for that.
Professionalism, despite the wheels falling off and getting very frustrated with myself, like there was even a part there. I think the video almost shows it clearly. I'm right on the side of the video. That first magnesium I drew up, I finished getting that second ampule of sodium chloride, I put 9% in it. I literally looked at it and went, oh, yeah, fucked. And almost did that, you know, I'm going to exaggerate, just threw it on football on the ground, but that's how it felt I was. So, you know, that, you know, realistically of the sins I've done, that was probably almost the worst professionalism I feel that I had in that job. I've still marked it positively as independent.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I saw it too. Do you follow sport?
Yeah.
What's your favourite sport?
League in the Broncos at the moment.
Oh, mate. So can you remember back to the Cowboys Broncos grand final?
Yeah.
Where and the Broncos had it all wrapped up.
Ben Hunt dropped that kick in front of
Dropped it. And that's your moment where it looked like you dropped the bomb. And you had that same reaction. But the thing is, Hunt got back up and was a fantastic hooker in the State of Origin. Last State of Origin will be standout player. This one coming up. But yeah, I agree. Professionalism, mate. But part of that professionalism is learning how to just go, oh,
just put it down.
Put that down. Let's do it again.
Calm, control, demeanour. I wasn't maybe that was just how I felt and not how I looked.
Agree, mate. So it's the first time
In a long while.
like since this time being up that I've seen your cage rattled a little bit, but you still kind of kept it going. But we could see that the controlled demeanour. You were still thinking about the bomb.
Medical documentation, clinical handover weren't done.
Yeah.
Risk benefit, for me, probably not necessarily easily seen. I looked at it, I recognised it early. I'm labelled life threat, I want my adrenaline, I need to stop you doing what I'm doing, and I want the adrenaline drawn up. You got IV in this person indicated fluid, let's do that now. I want you to stop doing that and go to the BBM. I think my risk benefit, I think my stratification of what bang for buck and what's not was actually quite good.
Yep.
Even down to the point of the end, I tasked the salbutamol to be drawing up IV, but I was drawing up the adrenaline. So, you know, if there was a question to be about at the end there, which one would you have reached for first?
Yep.
If the patient and the condition they were, I would have gone on adrenaline infusion. That was more the priority. So that's where I marked myself assisted in that risk benefit on my thought processes at that particular time.
Alright, so 60 on 40 blood pressure, how much muscle perfusion do you think's occurring?
Not much.
Alright.
Especially when you also said I've had cold peripheries and, you know.
So where was your thought process for the speeding up of IV adrenaline or IV salbutamol?
Okay, so I had this similar discussion the other day with a SIM with someone. The ABD one I was talking with Kevy about. You've got to draw a line in the sand. The book says 2 dipyridol before you can go to ketamine, but there's times that you just need to recognise the excited delirium. You need to take this person down now and deal with everything else later,
Yep.
and you almost need to push the dipyridol away and reach for the ketamine early.
Yep.
In that particular patient, in the life threat, nice and quick and easy, adrenaline IMI in, done. I'm understanding your question there is, would you have reached the adrenaline earlier? There's a part of me in the real world, possibly yes, you know, especially in reflection of that case, yes. But the way I interpret the CPM and the DGPs, I'm not allowed to reach for that until I've done 3.
Yeah, but you've also got this thing where you've got IM adrenaline drawn up in preparation, which you had. You drew it up and you had it on the kit. And then it moves on to what's the next thing that I can draw up in preparation for the anticipated deterioration of my patient.
We don't
The adrenaline rather, but I was busy on the mag.
Where that patient was, you could have just waited 60 seconds and no, it would have been in rest and it would have been getting IV adrenaline. Realistically.
But
that's how close the line is.
But I guess the point in this case is like you recognise
We don't need these guys anymore, do we?
No,
Do we want to round up with them at all? Or
if we just want to, if you just want to say big thanks, for their help today, mate. That'd be great. I guess where we're going there is that, like, you've come in, you've administered adrenaline, I think within the first 2 minutes of being on scene. You've labelled it. This is peri-arrest asthma, or when you stop what you're doing, you drop adrenaline and administer that and mark event. And then that's where your adrenaline needs to be going in. Does your patient respond to the IM adrenaline?
Not the first one, no. It wasn't until the magnesium started that they did anything, and that was IV.
Yeah, so your patient's really sick, and so you know you're going down that pathway. And I suppose for this one, it's like, well, what's the risk benefit? I'm continuing giving a drug where I'm not going to get an effective response from. What is next within my procedures?
Sorry, I might be able to help you. The CPM is constantly evolving, right? And this comes back through clinical governance, right? So if you sit in some positions like I have sat before on clinical governance, that then feeds back down to Brisbane, with clinical governance in Brisbane. In Tony's office, some of the things you see. So an example was, all right, well, maybe we've got too many people trying to ventilate with a bag valve mask with patients with respirators that it's discoordinate trying to ventilate with them. So maybe we need to bring out a memorandum to say, listen, unless the respirator's less than 10, you don't do it, right? Because you've still got some air movement. So when it comes to, so the CPM can never cover everything. So when it comes to that particular patient, you got to look at it and go, well, the 3 IM adrenalines, which is what it says in there now, I get that. It's
15 minutes.
It's the cover off on every person, ACP, CCP, to make sure you got three adrenalines, IM adrenalines in. And if the CCP's there, you can do it IV, or make sure you do 3 IM. But you're at such a borderline in that case. I mean, realistically, that's the big dollars we want to pay you for in these gold epaulets, to be able to go, well, you know what, we've already done 1 IM, or they've done one, whatever, and we're going nowhere. We're so close here. I need cardiac support. I need that now. I've got an IV. I'll go IV.
The key part of CPM, it says consider.
Yeah, I love that word, consider.
Consider.
And then fighting for consider. What consider for the...
Can I put a positive in?
Yeah.
I used the Chook's foot and I remembered it earlier.
And you did. Yeah, you absolutely did. You absolutely did. So mate, listen, just back to your risk benefit procedure.
Thank you very much for coming today, guys.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow?
Thanks, Nat.
No worries.
Sorry?
What time tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, 9.
9? Cool.
Yes, that's good.
See you, Tristan.
See you, mate. Good job. See you, Luke. Nice to meet you.
See you. Nice to see you, Tristan.
Bye.
See ya.
There's been many a time I've gone to Sims or played or do whatever, and that Chook's foot sitting in the kit right beside the bung, because that's when I want to use it, or it is like it is now, in with the giving sets. And I go to cap off a bung, or someone caps off a bung, instead of using it, it's not until I'm, shit, I've got a magnesium one, I want to do something else, that's my only one.
Yeah, I thought it was great. We made comment on it, it's good. So troubleshooting, problem solving, we've given you assisted there, and we've given you assisted because even though you drew up the drug magnesium with extra volume, you've recognised that, you've gone back and you've quickly done it. And I don't know how long it took, but it didn't seem long for you to establish the second volume for administration. Probably your problem solving with the recognition of a AIOC lying a patient down the floor, that's borderline. But in general, we've seen an improvement with your problem solving, that you've just gone and worked through it. Like you're working through of the T-piece, even though it feels like you're there connecting other things.
Playing with Lego.
Sorry?
Playing
Where
with Lego.
you've become a Lego master. Yeah, you've achieved the coordinated thing. And it didn't seem too clunky. It's not seamless, but you got to the end result. So for us, we gave you an assisted there, and then for plans ahead, we're giving you a dependent, which looks like the reverse order of what you've got down there. You're giving yourself an assisted, a dependent, and an assisted. I guess for ours, that kind of goes on the ability to go back and go, what does my patient need? Am I providing what my patient needs? And is my care in the next 5 minutes going to be aimed at providing what my patient needs? A couple of things there that we highlighted: ventilation and positioning, and the requirement for prompts in both of those areas for you to be able to go, oh, I need to change something. Have you taken feedback? I believe you have, mate, because we've seen, even though you feel disappointed, we've seen elements of your management in there that show that you've been working on what we've been promoting and assisting with. You're very rapid coming in and stating to your team, hey guys, this is what we've got, this is what we need to achieve, and then delegating and designating it out.
I'm not happy with it though. At the end of the day, at the end of milestone 1, I need to be at assisted level. I've done 2 and they're both independent, so I'm not happy with it at all. But
I agree with dependent overall, mate. Alright, so in terms of this, we've given you some feedback there. Think about what you can do as an action plan in the immediate future.
Taking all this feedback, or we just put it on just in the corner for us.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. I'm a lazy bastard, busy.
Same here. Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Now Mel said that she was gonna, she'd spoken to HR and she's waiting some feedback, so I'm not sure whether or not that's gonna occur today or when that's gonna occur, but that's just in response to some of the questions you asked this morning.
Grab his leg and just put him up there on the table. What are you doing this afternoon?
Can I make a suggestion to try to do
Sleep.
something, like try to get some sleep and do